Oh, another thing that happened while I was in Netherlands was, so the same day where when I ordered in Turkish, that was just before that. There was a morning before that. It was my last day in Amsterdam. Me and my friend were in a cafe. We were like having brunch. It was a really good brunch. Not gonna lie, so good. And then, so we were sitting like here. So me, I'm here, and then like my friend was here, sitting opposite each other. And then like two people started walking in and sat down like literally just behind my friend. So my friend was sitting like this, right, facing me, and then the two people were like sitting like this, facing each other, and they were signing, and they had like hearing aids on. I was like, oh, cool! Like never run into any deaf person abroad before. So I kept talking to my friend, but I was very honest to them. I was like, okay, I'm talking to you, but I am definitely watching the deaf people behind you. So I was like multitasking. I was trying to understand what they were saying. It was not easy. That was the hard thing, because obviously the most likely language they would be using was Dutch Sign Language. But while I was watching, there was a lot of things that just felt really familiar. And also the woman had like an accent, as in her signing had an accent that felt quite British to me. So I kept watching. I was like, what is this language? What is this language? Like, what are the odds if I ran into like British deaf people here? I just kept watching them. There's a lot of signs that felt familiar. And obviously there's lots of things that are also not language specific. Like, for example, come here, or like the walking around, people going here and there, or just very pointing, gesturing kind of things. Those were like international, universal. So I felt like I understood quite a bit. So I was very confused as to what language that was. And I kept watching. And even when my friend went to the loo, I was like straight up staring at them. And I don't know if they knew I was staring, but like if they did, I was like, yo, okay, I might be making them uncomfortable. So like the moment before we left, I decided to like just go for it. I went to them. They were still talking. I went to them like, hey, so your sign language, what is it? So what are you signing? And I was aware they might not understand BSL, but I would try to use things that would be more relatively international. I think this one means what in BSL. I think this is relatively international because at the very least I know like some sort of similar motion might be in ASL, and then like this, it's the same in Hong Kong Sign. In Hong Kong Sign, like all the questions are like this, and also like the face, right? What like sign, this is pretty universal. Language, this is from ASL, so it's also relatively international. So I just went for it, like, what is your sign language? And they said, oh, it was Holland, this Dutch sign. And then we had a little conversation. That was so extremely, it was exhilarating. That was something that I never thought I'd do, but I just did. It was a very short conversation, basically like, so where you from? Like, that kind of stuff. So they asked me, if I sign Dutch. I'm like, no, I don't sign Dutch. I said I want to say I signed British sign, but I didn't know how to do. I didn't know a sign for Britain that is not in BSL. I do know that like a lot of European sign languages use this for England because that's like the what's the name? The guards in Buckingham Palace. Yeah, that's why they use that for England. A lot of European sign languages do that. But I wasn't sure. I tried using it. I don't think they understood it. And then I just finger spelled England, which is something I can do. And they got it. And they say like, and then they understood my lip pattern. I was saying Britain. What is Britain in Dutch? Let me just check. I mean, I assume it's something similar. Britannia. Okay, right. Close enough. Britannia. So they assuming they didn't misunderstand, they taught me the Dutch sign for Britain. And then, so we just kept conversing. So I said, oh, I know British sign. And they said, oh, Like, where are you from? I said I'm from Hong Kong, and they didn't know the sign. This is the Hong Kong sign for Hong Kong, but it's also the BSL sign for Hong Kong. Place names tend to be relatively universal because like deaf people like to use a certain place. They like to use the sign name of a place from that place. So for example, people would tend to use the Hong Kong sign for Hong Kong and like the American sign for America, etc. There's a tendency towards that, or like French sign for France. So I used Hong Kong. They didn't get it, but then they read my lips and they were like, "Oh, so it's like Hong Kong," and I was like, "Yes, that's the one. That's the one." I think this is their H. Their H is this, I think. So slightly different. Yeah, I think that's what they did. And I said, "Oh, I wanted to say I live in Britain." But I was like, nah, live is not going to translate across languages. So I was like, oh, how could I express it? And hence we go to like my paraphrasing skills. Because I was like, okay, if I can't say I live in Britain, assuming I did get the right sign for Britain, right? I can't say I live in Britain. What else can I say? So instead I said, I flew here from Britain, because this is, I guess, either one. Like this is relatively universal, like flying, right? That's easy. So like I flew here from Britain. So that was so much fun because like it was constantly challenging my brain to find different ways to express things, and constantly like on the fly deciding what are the odds of other deaf people from other countries understanding what I'm saying. And then at the end they asked me if I'm deaf. So that one is their sign for deaf, but I didn't know their sign for hearing. I didn't want to risk it, so I just, like in a panic, I just made up something. I mean, I first did this is BSL for hearing, and just in case, I just made up a sign and said like, oh, that my ears they work. So I felt bad. Maybe they might have been offensive, but you know what? I was at a loss, so I made up something, and then we left. And that was such an amazing experience, just trying to do that. And I know lots of deaf people do that when they go to like international events and conferences. They sort of find ways of communicating across and just on the fly explaining and sharing their signs, which is also how international sign came to be. But yeah, that's the story. That was me doing it for the first time, and I hope I will do it sometime in the future as well. It's I might start with like going to events in the UK, because that would be hard enough just talking to people from different parts of the country. Yeah, but internationally that's the next level.